Hi, my name is Ralph Paglia, and I'm a catalyst with Reynolds Consulting Services. Today we're going to talk about our second case study. You should have received a PowerPoint file on a CD along with several other files. This particular file is called TAS Case Study Number 2. Now, in order to set the stage for as we discuss about this case study, we also want to talk about this particular dealer's situation. This dealership had an up and running internet department, and they were actually doing pretty well. They were selling between 50 to 75 units per month on average, good month versus bad month. But when we took a look at the numbers, they saw that they were operating at a very low closing ratio, in some cases well below 7% closing ratio. Big volume dealership down in Houston, Texas. Our initial introduction to this dealer was when they paid to attend a series of workshops or seminars that were facilitated by Reynolds Consulting Services. Once they were able to attend this particular workshop and begin a dialogue with the catalyst, they invited an enrollment specialist to come into the dealership and talk to them about additional training and consulting services. We feel this particular business case is a perfect example for you to use or talk to when you're talking to a dealership that already has an Automark website and is either getting okay results or maybe not all the results that they really expected to get. It's a great opportunity to go in there and show the dealer that there is a solution available in the form of Reynolds Consulting Services that can be sold to dealers directly after they've actually bought the Automark website. Of course, we always recommend that you include adequate Reynolds Consulting Services days in the Internet College training at the time of the Automark website sale. But again, we're talking about a dealer that already has their website, already has their internet department, and is really looking to improve or increase the results that they're getting from their web brand management strategy. So let's talk about the numbers in this particular case. In this particular dealership, they had an enormous volume visiting their website, about 19,000 visitors a month coming in and taking a look at their website. They were receiving, and we want to emphasize this, from all leads. In this particular case study, we're going to look at the total internet department performance because we were brought in as consultants for the entire department's performance, not just the dealership's own website. They were getting about 918 leads per month. Now, what we ended up getting here was about a 4.8% lead submission rate for the interactive portion of the tips wheel. They were getting about 170 appointments per month, or approximately an 18.5% appointment to lead ratio, and this was yielding a 69% show-up ratio, or about 118 customers a month were actually coming into the dealership from the internet department appointments. Of those 118 customers that showed up at the dealership each month, they were delivering in a good month, the month before we started our engagement with this particular dealer, they were delivering 71 units per month, or about a 60% closing ratio on their internet leads coming into the store. So let's take a look at what we actually did. As you go into the PowerPoint presentation, you'll see that we talk about phase one. In phase one, you're going to notice that there's a lot up here that's in red. And again, we want to emphasize the best practices in red were presented to the dealer, but this particular dealer chose not to deploy or implement those best practices. In this particular case, one of the things we were able to accomplish on our initial visit to the dealership was to convince the dealer that of the benefit of directing all their third-party provided leads to come to the dealership's website as part of the automated response going out to the customers from leads coming in. In this particular case, by simply doing that, we saw a little bit of an increase in the traffic to the actual dealership's website, and the rest of the numbers actually stayed the same. When we first began our engagement in this particular case study number 2, we started off with one day of strategy workshop where we brought the dealership's management team into an off-site location with Reynolds Consulting Service Catalyst, and we really presented some of our ideas and some of the results and some of the best practices that we'd seen around the country. As a result of this, the management team became very excited and sent a very large number of their staff to the next 2 days of workshop. So let's take a look at that. We had 3 days, actually, of e-business workshops at an off-site location with their internet sales managers. In this particular dealer group, they had or dealership, they had 8 internet sales managers that were handling the incoming internet leads. So let's take a look at these numbers here. The dealership had about 19,000 visitors per month coming to their website. They were generating approximately 918 to 929 leads per month for an interactivity ratio of 4.8%. And they had about 178 appointments, 170 to 178 appointments per month that they were able to schedule from these leads from all sources. And they had between 118 and 123 per month coming into the dealership. Shortly after going to the workshops, they saw a little bit of a blip or improvement in their internet sales. They had struggled to ever consistently go over 70 units per month. Now they were consistently over 70, and they moved the needle at 74 deliveries per month, or an 8% closing ratio, which grew from a 7% closing ratio, and that was right after the actual workshops. At this point, the management team actually wanted a Reynolds Consulting Services consultant to come on site and work with their staff and really customize the approach that they would take on their web brand management strategy. Some of the things we were able to accomplish is we were really able to move the needle on management buy-in throughout the dealership. This was a very large volume dealership, and we had quite a few attitudes and feelings going on throughout the dealership that weren't necessarily conducive to the internet department getting the best results. We identified some of the perceived weaknesses in their web brand management program that were held, these beliefs were held by other departments throughout the dealership. We worked with the entire dealership's management team to really form a cohesive strategy. We established some e-business performance metrics. We defined the process requirements for their internet managers. As it turned out, each of their internet managers was doing something very different from the other when they would receive an internet lead. We were able to define their processes, really map out their processes, and set some minimum standards of performance for each of these internet managers. We also worked with the upper management staff to create a position of internet marketing director, and we took one of the better internet sales managers that worked for the dealership and promoted him into this internet marketing director's position. We also hired an additional 3, because we had taken 1 out of the 8, internet sales managers, and built the staff up to 10 internet sales managers, all supervised by 1 internet marketing director. As we were going through this process and doing this, we were able to grow from 918 to 935, right around their leads. We were able to increase the appointment ratio by simply putting those standards in place to 21%, or 197 appointments, compared to 18.5%, or 170 appointments. The appointment show ratio, by implementing, again, just a little better processes, but not yet quite getting into it, we moved the needle a little bit from 69% show to 70%. So we went from 118 people showing up at the dealership to 138 people showing up at the dealership. And again, we moved the number just a little bit. The closing ratio stayed the same. We went from 71 units a month to 83 units per month. So at this point, we definitely had the attention and the buy-in of the dealership management team, because again, prior to our engagement with Reynolds Consulting Services, this particular dealership struggled to ever consistently be over 70, and they had never broke 80 units per month in the past. Now we were at 83 units per month. We continued our engagement with a total of 10 days of in-dealership e-business process consulting and training. Again, the dealership had quite a few internet managers with 10 on staff. We really focused on lead management, again, that process definition, process execution. We focused on directing third-party leads to the dealership's own website so that we could really engage with the customer early on, perhaps take some of that time away that they would normally shop at other dealers, get them engaged with the dealer's own website. We worked extensively with their responses to leads. We did telephone training. We developed customized phone scripts. We developed customized email templates that reflected the dealership's own unique business processes. And again, we tried to convince them to go with two-way pagers, but they chose not to do that. That's why it's in red. But our main focus at this point was really on process growth within this particular dealership's operating environment. We felt that they were getting plenty of leads and that their website was working quite well, but where the real growth or the real solution to what they wanted to achieve would come in would be in processes. And very soon, the rewards came to prove our business case and our proposition to the dealer himself. Again, with about the same number of leads, using these lead response process enhancements and really focusing on consistent process execution on these leads, we're able to grow from an 18.5% to a 24% appointment ratio. That grew us from 170 to 228 appointments per month. We got heavily involved with that whole confirmation process. We really focused on the confirmation, appointment confirmation email templates that we help customize and build within their tool. Really focused on providing the customer with maps to the dealership, confirm the appointment date and time, and giving them door-to-door directions directly from the customer's house or business right to the dealership. Even if they knew how to get to the dealership, this demonstrated to the customers our commitment to providing a very high level of service and support to the customers for when they bought a car. The end result was we moved the needle on the appointment show ratio from 69% to 88%. And just by doing that, we grew those appointment shows from 118 people showing up at the dealership to 201 people showing up at the dealership. They already had a pretty darn good closing ratio once they arrived at the dealership at 60%. With this increase in appointment shows, we're able to grow from 71 sales the month before the engagement to 122 sales. At this point, the excitement really grew. We continue to work with this particular dealership, and I'm happy to report, and it's not shown in the slide, that we've actually broke 130 units this past October. We continue to be engaged in their hiring and training processes and helping them grow and really take it to that next level. We have our eyes set to break 150 units per month this coming summer of 2003. The key point of this particular presentation is the value of Reynolds Consulting Services. This particular dealer had it all. He had the website. He had the lead management tools. He had the people. He had what he thought was process in place, but he saw from his metrics, from that low closing ratio of 7%, he just knew that there was something better he could do with that lead volume. By engaging with Reynolds Consulting Services, bringing our catalysts into the dealership, going through the tips wheel, really finding out where they were deficient within the tips wheel, really focusing on that whole process and growing those processes, and most importantly, empowering the dealership's people to be able to execute these processes by rolling up our sleeves and getting shoulder to shoulder with these people, calling the customers up, helping them craft the email responses, helping them find the right vehicles to send quotes back to the customer. By really engaging with that, we were able to take this store on a 72% internet sales growth pathway. And they're ecstatic. They remain committed to our consulting and training services. They've grown from a 7.7% overall closing ratio on internet leads to a 13% overall closing ratio on internet leads, and that has yielded an increase from 70 to over 120 units per month. They've picked up an additional 50 sales per month through their engagement with Reynolds Consulting Services. That's your tips case study number 2. Thank you.